A 3 p.m. show here for the gang on this Tuesday following maybe the worst loss of the year as we come to you live from the Xfinity Lounge. It's the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365 with Derek and Kyle. I'm Devon Bree. She's the president of basketball operations. All of you on this great Tuesday in the chat, thank you so much for hanging out with us as the Sixers fall to the, Derek called them the hospital Nuggets at one point during the game. 125, 124 in overtime. Career highs all over the place for Jalen Pickett. What was going on last night?
Zeke Naji shooting 80% from three. Like, what is unbelievable?
Didn't he only have like 4 made threes the entire year up to that point?
He matched that in a single game,
did.
Derek.
Yes, he did. So maybe you got it off your chest. You let it go as 82-game season. Those games happen. You know what happens when you come back from a long trip. Sometimes you slip up there. They did that. Opportunity to bounce back tomorrow against the Washington Wizards. And with it, we got to talk about a guy who might need a game like tomorrow against Washington, where if the starters do their part, they start blowing the game out a bit. Give him some extra time. Maybe he can get some things going. We'll talk about Jared McCain here in just a second. But we do have to tell you, we got a playoff run coming up here, Kyle. Not the
we
basketball.
sure hope it's a run.
Well, yeah. The football team, Derek.
And
Eagles
not a faceplant.
hosting the 49ers this weekend. And with it, you know we got to thank you for all the great things that you do for us. We're giving back again right here at PHLY, and that is with a $36 intro offer, a special playoff intro offer to become a diehard member right now for the best football coverage in the area. And that is with Bo, EJ, Fran, Les Bowen, Jamie and Vinny on the post-game show as well. And you get to jump in as a diehard member right now just for the intro offer to start the new year at $36. It's a Brian Westbrook number, right? Might as well go ahead and sign up right there.
Friend of the program, Brian Westbrook.
Got to get him on the show. See what's going on.
Get on the show.
My fault. I know. I haven't gotten him like, yo, come on back on the show so we can talk some basketball so you can vent about Joel Embiid. We'll do that at some point, but right now we're talking about his jersey number as your intro offer, $36. You get the t-shirt of your choice, including our playoff collection that you get to choose from, exclusive Eagles playoff coverage, plus diehard community access overall. So sign up now, limited time offer. Hopefully, as Kyle said, it's a long run where you get to take advantage of this for a few more weeks as we go along, as the Eagles get ready to defend their crown. Sign up right now, allphly.com. Become a member of our diehard community. All right, let's talk about Jared McCain, where he needs to become part of the community again, where we're talking about him as a second-year guy that is really thriving in his role with the Philadelphia 76ers. Like he did, Kyle, last year, start of the year, we had no idea what you were really going to get from a smaller guard. Not the fastest, not the one that has the best burst of getting to the basket, but the one thing you know he could do is shoot. But he showed us so much more in the 23 games for the time that he played last season before the knee injury occurred, and it caused him to miss the rest of the year. This year, once he did come back, it's been so up and down with Jared McCain. He has a bad stretch. He has a few good games, and then it's bad again as Bree puts up the stats from a year ago where he was the leading candidate for Rookie of the Year at 15 points per game, shooting 46% from the floor. This year, in 2 more games played, 25 overall, he's averaging just under 7 points. He's shooting 35% from the floor. Not that much better from 3, which is his calling card of keeping him on the floor as well, and also right around 1 assist less than Jared McCain was able to produce in his time on the floor last year for Nick Nurse's squad. And he has more regular of the big 3, and now adding VJ Edgecombe in there, he has more of the regulars out there where he doesn't have to carry a lot of the weight. It may not be the 15 points, but it's just more about the consistency and showing us the things that he was able to do last year would also translate in a smaller role, but still have a bigger impact. And over these last 2-3 games, he has not looked good. It's starting to look like it's a rough run again here for Jared McCain.
Yeah, so to me, the play that really jumped out as the signpost for Jared's struggles this year was a moment in the game against the Nuggets where he didn't have an opening at a 3, had a guy closing out on him. I believe this is in the first half.
This
You
was
guys
in
can
the
correct
corner,
me.
right?
Yes, in the corner, and has an opportunity to pump fake and get a flyby. Or what I was thinking as I'm watching it is, this is a quick side dribble, sidestep, take the 3. The Jared McCain of last season is executing that without having to think twice. And he got caught between like 3 different worlds where I think he was trying to pump fake and he loses the ball and then comes back down with it and ends up traveling. And it was a moment where you just say, boy, this kid is in his own head. And I do think, and Hedfa in our Discord and in YouTube chat, I'm sure we'll hear from her today, has been hammering this idea of that meniscus surgery, the path that he took. That's a 2-year injury. It takes time to recover. And I think all of that is fair and is good. And we can sit here and say that logically, say, hey, like the data says it takes a while to readjust and get back in the flow of things. I think it's especially pertinent that he missed the preseason. He didn't get those low stakes minutes, opportunities, reps with everybody else, where VJ had a pretty up and down preseason. The first couple of games against the Knicks in Abu Dhabi, shot really poorly, had some moments in the games afterward, but you're thinking, this is kind of the VJ we expected. But those games allowed him to get reps. And then once the regular season starts, it's just, onward and upward from there. So Jared has been hit with a lot of adversity. But I think what you're also seeing is that even the things that we know or we believe that he's good at have been hard for him. It looks like he is fighting himself just to make open threes, just to execute things like a side dribble, sidestep 3 in the corner that I watched Jared McCain do like Steph Curry type stuff as a shooter last year with his footwork, his timing, his relocation instincts off the ball. And now it looks difficult for him to do something as simple as make an open standstill catch and shoot 3. So I'm pretty discouraged by what I've seen. I'm trying not to get trapped within, hey, it's the first year back from this recovery and he's buried in the rotation more than maybe we expected coming into the year. But it has been really tough sledding for him. And I'm increasingly in a spot where I think this year is just kind of a wash for Jared.
Yeah, it is. The numbers are rough. He's shooting, like, when we can bring up the threes, and yeah, he's shooting, I think 32%. He was shooting 38, 39% last year. He's shooting 15% less in 2-point range than he was last year. He went from 53% to 37% from 2. And everything about that, at the rim, he is shooting 45%. He was shooting 59% last year. On short mid-rangers, 46% last year, 32% last year. Long twos, 48% to 27%. He was legitimately above average in all of those. He is now bottom 20th percentile in all of those categories. There is not anything right now he is doing on offense that is consistently good or effective. And, I do think this is one where, because if you actually look at the shot profile, he's getting to the same floor spots. He's just not finishing anything. Mm-hmm. I do wonder if there is, because we're watching, I think a lot of people sometimes forget that it can take, and Hedva, I know, has been hammering this home, that it can take some time to get your athleticism and your mobility back. Even though we're watching it play out in real time with Joel Embiid, a month ago, we didn't know if he could play high-level basketball. Now, some mental miscues notwithstanding, he is playing very consistent basketball and looking like a completely different version of himself. And that's just over the span of a month. It is something where, Jared had the surgery last year, had the option for the surgery and took it, which again, I want to reiterate because a lot of times you don't have the option on the meniscus on which surgery you're going to get. But he had the option where it's the better long-term prognosis, but it's a longer recovery timeline. And, I think he is just right now what he used to be able to do. I don't want to say easily because he doesn't have the athletic profile or the physical profile where anything's easy, but what he used to be able to have confidence doing and it would be second nature in him doing, he's now overthinking everything. I don't think he's getting, the kind of, not that he had a tremendous amount of burst, but he had enough burst where he could get to his spots. Now he's not getting to his spots as easily, so I think he's overthinking it. When he does get there, he's not able to play through contact or elevate. Again, not that he was ever a great elevator, but if you lose a little bit of it, it's just everything that he thought he had sort of down, it feels like he is second guessing. And I am still very much of the mind where I'm not going to read too much into it, which is why I think the way Kyle phrased it, lost season is probably best. I don't think this changes my evaluation of him. And I think we've seen both in terms of historical NBA injury recovery and also with our own eyes right now with Joel Embiid, that you don't want to read anything too big into early struggles on a return from an injury like this. But it is, there's two questions when Kelly comes back. What's best for Jared's development? Is that keeping him up here, trying to give him 10 to 15 minutes per game? Is that sending him down to the G League? And then there's what's best for the team. And right now it would be really tough for me to say like keeping him in rotation is actually good for the team. And long-term, I think you want to do whatever gets him back to where he was. But that's going to be tough for Nick to do. And honestly, I give Nick a lot of credit because he's given him more minutes than he's deserved right now. And that was one of my concerns, was that Nick would bury him because Nick is under a lot of pressure to win games. Mm-hmm. You have more depth now than you almost ever have under the Joel Embiid era. With Kelly coming back, that's exacerbated even more. It would be tough for me to make the case of like, no, he should be out there if you're trying to win basketball games now.
Last night when we were watching, I don't know how you guys felt sitting there at press row, seeing it, of course, up and close. The three of us, we were like, all right, he's got to come out the game because the game was too close. Too many things were happening. You saw where Denver would go up. He was out there on the floor. He's part of when things were going poorly that he could not make a shot. And Kyle, that one, as soon as you said it, I'm like, oh, that was the one. That was the one where he pump faked, thought he was going to sidestep. If not, maybe take a little dribble.
And you trust him to make that play.
All the time.
100%.
All the time. And he didn't do it. So I go back to also when we had Tim Legler on a couple of conversations ago with him where we talked to him about that. And he mentioned that this is going to take some time. And he's going to have some good moments. He's going to have some bad moments. And right now, he's in that stretch once again where he has the bad one. And I agree with Derek on the fact that this is just that mental part of it where you're still fighting yourself. And as Kyle just said, you trust yourself. We trust him to do it. He trusts himself to do it. But it's not all coming together. And then you start rushing things. You're trying to do too much. He's normally one that stays within himself and does the things that he does. He made that first shot, that fadeaway that he made. I'm like, okay, all right, there's Jared McCain. I mean, he made that three. I'm sorry. Where he made that three, I think the one mid-range shot was against the Knicks where he made it on the one end of the floor.
Also had a nice mid-range, like got to the mid-range last night and threw like a nice entry to Bona.
Yes.
I believe got a dunk out of it.
Yep.
And like you see it in little spurts like that, little flashes
right.
like that.
Yeah, so I think we're going to keep saying it as we talk about this because it's going to continue to happen, but he just has to continue to trust himself and believe that all the work that you do put in to get yourself out, to get you to the spot that you're already in, but then get yourself back into the mental space of, I know I can do this stuff. And a lot of people are talking about Delaware and maybe going out there and getting some run heifers, talking about a few others mentioned it. And I do wonder if that's one thing because what if he's down there struggling too? Where we saw him in those few games where he went there, he got the minutes, but he wasn't getting the same type of production that I bet that he would imagine, and the same thing that we would imagine going to play in that environment in the G League. Now, that was earlier. Maybe it's a little bit different now where he will go down and just start dropping 30 every night, get that confidence back and come back up here and make shots with this basketball team. But it is tough to watch because he is one that we generally, after seeing him last year, you're thinking we can trust him, as Kyle said. And then when we were previewing the season before he had the thumb injury, we're like, man, this 4-guard rotation is going to be phenomenal. Well, right now it's just a 3-guard rotation that you feel mostly good about, some good with Quentin Grimes, some bad with Quentin Grimes, but for the most part, you definitely trust him being out there on the floor more so than you do Jared McCain. He has to see some shots.
Which is a sad state of affairs because Quentin is a guy that I'm like, I don't know if I trust him possession to possession, let alone game to game.
So with it, I mean, he just, the confidence just has to come back at some point. And look, Derek, you mentioned it. Nick Nurse still calling his number. That's good because we were discussing when is he just going to stop calling his number? Hearing you, seeing the stuff that you guys put out there with the quotes from Nick Nurse saying that he still trusts him. He still feels good about him. That's why he keeps throwing him out there in these minutes. The other problem is it's not just the shooting and the defense that the guys have talked about. He can't dribble. And that's another part of it. Mm-hmm. When he's out there, they need that other ball handler. You don't have Trendon Watford right now, so you need that other ball handler. And Jared McCain is that one that you're supposed to be able to trust. But when they pressure up on him, he also seems a little bit bothered by that pressure that they're putting on him at the point of attack. He's not really getting to the spots, as you guys talked about, as much as you would like to see him. And even when he does, he'll get into it, he'll do the spin move, and then he's just not creating the space that we're accustomed to seeing last season in those 23 games. So is it a lost season? It's quite possible because it is a tough injury to recover from. And he is still young. I still have confidence in him that, hey, when he lines up to take a shot, I'm like, all right, that's going in. He misses, lines up for the next one. I still think it's going in. That's how good of a shooter I think he is. And I do think at some point it'll come back. I just don't know when and how much is it going to impact them within a season where they're 3 games up, they're 3 games down. Could that one shot have swung that one game that maybe puts them in this spot? And that's where we are with the team. And it doesn't help when we continue to talk about stacking wins like last night. And one of those shots could have fallen for them, might have been a difference in a 1-point game. And that's where we are with the season and with him.
So 2 quick things. One, to build off of what Derek was saying about, you give Nick Nurse credit for still trying to get him developmental time. One of the odd things statistically so far is that they are still winning his minutes rather handily. Now, a little bit of that is smaller sample compared to, he's played less than half of the possessions of VJ or Tyrese or Quentin and some of these other guys. So it's inflated by if you have 1 or 2 good games or good stretches where he plays 25, 30 minutes, that's going to make it look like, oh boy, they win with Jared on the floor. And a lot of that can be incidental, right? And so you don't read too much into it. But that, I think, is part of what Nick has gone to. He's looking at it and he's saying, I know that Jared is struggling individually. Everyone sees the same thing. But if you can continue to keep him out there long enough, that was what Nick said after the Denver game last night. It was like, he has to be on the floor. He has to play minutes. And there's no ifs, ends, or buts about it. And so I appreciate that they recognize, and Nick recognizes, this is a talented player. This is someone who did some really special things for us in a small sample last year, and we got to invest in him. But I also think if you look at that Denver team last night, there is a little bit of a lesson there that we talk about on this show a decent amount, which is when you have unlimited leeway and rope, a lot of guys that are just in the NBA that you don't think of as special talents can go out there and give you 20, can go out there and have a great game or even a great stretch of games. And it's a lot more difficult for some of these guys in a specialized role where you're not getting as many on-ball touches. You are relegated to, hey, you're a floor spacer, you're on the wing, you're in the corner, wherever it might be. And you might not get a shot, but for once every 5 possessions, 6 possessions, 10 possessions. And if you miss that shot, you might not get another one until the very end of your shift or until the next time you come in the game. And that's why when you have guys like a Danny Green who make a career out of you hit 44% or 40% of those types of shots and you're a high impact defender on the other end. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is another example for a long time of that archetype, that those guys are so valuable because it's so difficult. And I think that's a little of what Jared is running into too, where whether it was Duke or even last season, because everyone's injured, he had all the runway in the world to, like, if he gets off to a tough start, well, it doesn't matter. Nobody's available. You're going to get the ball and get your shots. That has disappeared, and it has compounded the issue, which is that he's fighting his body, he's fighting his mind. Now he's fighting just the natural give and take of being more of a role player, and that's an adjustment he's got to make as well.
Yep. All right, we're going to take our first pause of the show. When we come back, we'll continue to talk a little bit more about Jared McCain in a different way, with the big takeaway from all of this with Jared McCain, what it means for the team, and what it might possibly mean as we are a month away from the NBA trade deadline as well. We'll talk about around the league things with the NBA trade rumors that are out there as well. It's the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Tuesday, a rare 3 p.m. show, our only one of the week. More basketball tomorrow. We'll be back for the pregame show at 6:30, Sixers Wizards. But today, Jared McCain, how does he get it back? Does he get it back? Is it time for him to go to the G League? The big takeaway on the other side here on the PHLY Sixers podcast.
Guys, covering the Sixers, you end up working a lot of late nights, and that means what you eat in the morning is super, super important. That's why the $5 big breakfast deal at Wawa comes in so clutch for me. I'm already going to be at Wawa anyway. I've been going there my whole life. So what's better than being able to get a Sizzly? I love the bacon, egg, and cheese croissant. Any size, hot or iced coffee, plus a hash brown, and it's only $5. It's been my go-to. It's super clutch because it fills you up. It's a great price, and it's delicious. What more could you want from Wawa, one of our best friends for all these years? And if you want to make it sweet, want to switch it up a little bit, they have their caramel and chocolate craze flavors too. I got a big sweet tooth. Maybe you do too. There's all kinds of variety. So just stop by Wawa between 5 and 11 in the morning. It's limited times. You got to get in there to get that $5 big breakfast deal. Make sure you take advantage of it. You all know you want it. Got to have a Wawa, just like us here at PHLY.
And guys, next up, we want to tell you about Xfinity and their 5-year price guarantee. What if you could have reliable and intelligent Wi-Fi? And what if you could keep it at the same price for 5 years? That's the Xfinity 5-year price guarantee. Imagine Wi-Fi that makes everything in your home work together, that finds and fixes problems before you even notice them, like super intelligent Wi-Fi with a sixth sense. And that lets you stream the game even when the whole family's online. All your devices working in perfect harmony for 5 whole years. And here's the best part. No annual contracts, no hidden fees, and Xfinity's best equipment included. Take it from me, a lot can change in 5 years. Championships are won, records are broken, dreams grow bigger. But your Wi-Fi, it should stay reliable, and the price should stay put. Lock in your price and unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only, restrictions apply.
And we're back here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Make sure you hit the like button, like and subscribe to the show, everybody. Got to get the foam finger. Hit the like button, everybody, while you're hanging out with us. Hit the like button for Wawa,
man. Shout out to Wawa coming on board with us.
Good sponsor that we have of Wawa. So we got the Wawa cups here. We got some mugs.
The Wawa hoodie.
Got the hoodie.
Right now.
Look at that. Look at the swag that
Beautiful.
we have here.
Look at that.
Look at
Beautiful.
that. Let me point at it with the foam finger. Look at that. Wawa, our great sponsor here. They have the great breakfast deal, $5
breakfast deal.
Sizzly hash brown, ice or hot coffee.
And
from
whatever size you want, hot or iced coffee. That's a hell of a deal.
You can get the 24 ounce from 5 to 11 every day, 5 to 11 a.m. Make sure you
Take
go check it out
over here
at Wawa. All right, let's get to the big takeaway. Derek just talked about it with the good people at Xfinity. The big takeaway, well, we need to talk a little bit more about Jared McCain, and it's presented by Xfinity. So, Derek, first you wanted to follow up with something that Kyle had to say before the break.
Yeah, no, like Kyle brought up, his plus minus and the fact that they are not losing the minutes he's on the floor. And I think that's probably mostly noise and randomness. But I do think theoretically when, Jared is playing well, he does a lot of things that do help you win minutes without showing up a ton on the stat sheet. Obviously, his man-to-man defense can at times be not great, right? The quicker players can drive past him. The bigger players can shoot over him. Even if he does everything right, a lot of possessions will end poorly because he's not a good man-to-man defender, even when he's going well. And certainly right now when he's not moving well, that's even worse. But he does a lot of little things on both ends of the floor, whether that's just the gravity that his offense brings and the spacing that it brings, or whether it is, his quick hands defensively. I think positionally, he's pretty sound. Again, his problems come mostly in the form of athletic limitations, but I think when he's playing well, he's quick, he's decisive, his rotations are good. It is, for a player who's going to try to maximize what he can do because of his size, I think he does most of those when he's playing well. So I do think when he starts making shots, when he starts getting the lift to finish inside, when he gets back to where he was last year, we can appreciate the little things that he does, and those little things will help on the plus minus category. And then you brought up, like Danny Green and KCP. And they are good. And look, I think for the most part, Jared's struggles are a combination of confidence and not being where he was physically, not just pure randomness, especially inside the arc. Like I said, that 37% that he's shooting on twos, I think that is probably the biggest indication that he's not back to where he needs to be, either physically or in terms of his confidence. But it is also every now and then worth remembering that like sometimes you just have a shitty shooting season and you can't.
Whoa!
Is that a no go?
No.
Is that the?
You said city.
Yeah, I did say city. A city shooting season. But like,
Sure you did.
Danny Green had a 4-year stretch where he shot 42.3% from three. And then randomly just shot 33% 1 year.
Yeah.
Like it happens. KCP, Orlando,
He's a lot more volatile of a shooter.
He was a lot more volatile, but he had a 4-year stretch where he shot at least 39% from three every year, 40.6% overall over a 4-year stretch. Orlando makes him a big acquisition. He shoots 34% from three. Sometimes you just have a down year, and when you are struggling in every other capacity right now because of his physical limitations, like I said, shooting 37% inside the arc, not being able to stay in front of anyone, then all of a sudden that drop from like a 38, 39% three-point shooter to a 33% shooter looks way, way worse. So I think everything is kind of like coalescing in the absolute worst way right now for him, from shooting struggles, maybe a little bit of randomness, to obviously not having the confidence and not being able to get to his spots. And hopefully once he gets a little bit of luck, shots start going in, feels a little bit better, maybe gets that, not brace, but that sleeve off of his knee, and just gets back to where he was physically, hopefully this all goes away.
So you wanted to talk about Cliff Jackson's...
Yes. Cliff Jackson in the chat had an interesting couple of comments that I wanted to bring up here. Cliff said, my problem is his shot selection, and says he doesn't play like he's in a rut and take safe shots. He'll randomly get 1-on-2 or shoot a transition contested three. And so I know Derek is definitely going to push back on this. I find myself going through like angel on the shoulder, devil on the shoulder exercise with what Cliff is referring to here. Because on the one hand, if I'm thinking about Jared, member of the team, member of the 76ers, and where his spot is in the hierarchy, and I think about how he is playing for this season, I definitely have moments on press row, watching here in the studio, where Jared pulls a like 27-footer on the break because he's got space and he's open and he's a confident shooter, and he misses. And I'm like, you bozo, what are you doing? Why are you taking that shot? And that's the devil on my shoulder. The angel on my shoulder says, Jared has to continue taking those shots. The version of Jared that is an impact player that is going to help this team, not just now, but grow into a player long-term that is a high-value asset, either as a weapon on this team or someone that they can trade. It borderline requires Jared to play with the mentality that, like, if I am open, I have to get a shot up. And frankly, I think a bigger problem has not been taking the contested shots, Cliff, for anybody else who's been a little upset with some of the shot selection, but that he's stepping out of some of these open shots, that he's passing out of open shots, and that he's allowing struggles in the past or in the recent games to cloud his head and say, hey, the Jared McCain you've been your whole life and the whole time we've known you as a basketball player isn't there anymore, and so you need to defer. And I admit, and I agree with Cliff to an extent, that like it's a tricky spot to be in. Like Jared is fighting himself, his lower extremities, his hand, his mind, and also the instinct to be a good teammate, right? Like, I think deep down, Jared is someone who wants the team to succeed as much as anything. He's not someone who's only out for himself and out for his numbers. And so you can see the calculus happening in his head as he passes out of some of these shots. So I understand that instinct. I understand where you're coming from. If you're like, hey, you're on the break and you have a 1-on-2, like pull it out.
And he's empowered to do that.
Right. And that's like Nick Nurse and Tyrese Maxey and VJ and Joel, like all those guys would tell you, we want Jared McCain taking those shots. So as much as it frustrates me when he misses them, I know deep in my bones, he has to take those, because eventually he has to make those or he is not going to play for this team, point blank, period.
The reason Jared McCain, when he's playing well, has value is because teams are terrified he is going to shoot with even an inch of space. And if you go back to watch, and specifically I want to talk about the transition because that was brought up in the comment. If you go back and watch him last year, he was pulling a lot of transition threes. If you go back and watch him at Duke, he was an elite transition three-point shooter. and even just like relocation threes coming off of screens. In order to be effective doing that, you can't be a threat with a PJ Tucker, like check the wind, stand in the corner, never move kind of 3-point shooter. You don't have gravity doing that. Jared McCain, when he's playing well, is elite at getting his shot off with very little space. I don't want him changing his game just because he's shooting 33% from three instead of 38% from three. And this is why a large part of it is like the shots that frustrate me aren't those contested threes, aren't those quick threes, aren't those transition threes. It's when he pump fakes and drives into traffic and tries to finish among the trees and is heavily contested because he's not confident in that shot right now. Now, there is a little bit of it's a balancing act. You don't want him taking too many threes when he's clearly struggling, so then his numbers go down, so then he starts second guessing even more. Like, he's got to be a little bit cautious, but I don't want him overthinking anything right now. I want his decision-making, if anything, simplified. I want to know that he has a confidence in the work that he has put in, because he should have the confidence in the work that he has put in. There's one thing I don't question. Like, I might have a tiny bit of concern that maybe like the league figures him out and his athletic limitations, like he might not be able to get back to where he was in terms of finishing inside the arc and at the rim, or maybe it'll take longer to get there because of the lower body injury and whatnot. I do not question that shot. I don't worry about that shot long term, and I need him not to worry about that as well, because the version of Jared that's really a threat and dangerous is the version that's going to pull those shots quickly.
All right, that's the big takeaway presented by Xfinity.
Did you just say quicklier?
I think I said quickly.
I'm running the tape back on that one later. Sorry, Devon.
It's make it a word for our show. Quicklier.
I don't think I said quicklier.
We're gonna take a quicklier. We're gonna take a quicklier.
I might be hearing things. We're all tired today, so who knows?
Got home at 2:45 a.m. You're just lucky I'm here.
The big takeaway presented by Xfinity. And
where their internet is quicklier.
Visit Xfinity.com for more information if you're looking to sign up to join the great people at Xfinity. All right, when we come back from our quicklier break, we're going to talk about, is there any value if you're already fed up, the Sixers might be, and you're just looking to see, does he have any trade value?
No.
Jared McCain.
Thanks for blowing the next segment, Bodner.
That was a really
quicklier
answer and ruining the segment, but we're going to talk about it anyway when we get back from this quicklier break right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. All right, everybody, the new year is here and you're setting those resolutions. Remember when you wanted to start that business when you were younger and you said, I don't know when I'm going to do it. I know you've been doing your research, though. And the great place for you to go is Shopify. That's right. What kind of dreams did you have when you were a kid? Is it something that is obtainable in the 2026 calendar year and you want to get started and you need somebody to help you out? Shopify is a place for you to go. You might as well do it now. Shopify is the e-commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. Shopify even powers the PHLY merch store here at the PHLY network. So if you've ordered from us, you see how easy it is. It's great. Go do it. Turn your business idea into cha-ching. That's right. With Shopify on your side, sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling at shopify.com/allcity. That's shopify.com/allcity. Cha-ching. The holidays are over, but you didn't eat great. So now it's time to get back on your normal routine. And I know you are part of Factor Meal Kits. If you're not, get back to Factor right now. And with Factor Meal Kits, unlike meal kits that require prep and cooking, Factor delivers fully prepared, ready-to-eat meals in just 2 minutes. More variety, more meals, and you get to choose from a wider selection of weekly meal options, including premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost. Eat smart at factormeals.com/PHLY50 off and use code PHLY50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code PHLY50 off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. This exclusive holiday offer won't last long. Lock in your savings before the New Year rush. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase. And we're back here on the PHLY Sixers podcast on a Tuesday.
Is that another outfit change?
Listen,
Jeez.
man, we got a lot of space here.
Who knew that we had a wardrobe department at PHLY?
A lot of hoodies and crew necks I have hanging up out there in the other area of the office here. So yes, changing all wardrobes, all good right here on set. We're here every day. We got a lot of stuff here.
Yes.
All right, let's get to Jared McCain's value or no value. Derek, you said right away.
Derek weighed in.
I can answer this very quickly. He doesn't have any.
And we bring this up because the trade deadline is now just less than a month away. And we're starting to hear rumors about a lot of players that we're going to talk about also after Jared McCain around the NBA. But no value at all, or no value like he had last season?
Well, he certainly doesn't have value like he had last year. I also don't think, coming off an injury and struggling, I don't think you're going to get anything of real value. No. It is. I don't think this would take all that much time to rehabilitate his value. Like if he started playing well now, by the trade deadline, he could have value again. Yeah. I think people remember that, first of all, he was a 16th overall pick. Remember what he was in college. Remember what he was last year. He just has to prove that he is back from the injury before he recoups his trade value. It wouldn't take long for that to happen, but until he actually does prove that he's back from that injury, then no, he's not going to have any.
So what do you say? What would you say if you had to predict it? 23 games, what he did last year. What kind of value was that before the injury occurred?
Oh, you probably could have gotten certainly a good first round pick. I'm not saying top 10, but a good first round pick, maybe even a good pick and then a second protected pick last year.
Yeah, you ain't getting that now.
No, you might get a late first, but even that would be he's got to prove he's back.
What I will say is that there are probably a few organizations out there that would, at the very least, I'm willing to take a flyer on him because of our pre-draft eval and what he proved during that early stretch. So funny enough, Lee in the chat brought up McCain to the Warriors so he can learn from Curry. I will just use the Warriors as an example. I know from talking to people that the Warriors had him in pre-draft, and he's from California, so they were much more familiar with his high school work than maybe some other people. And I know that they adored Jared McCain. I think he did a workout for them and shot the absolute lights out, and they were dying for him to somehow get to them and not to be the next Steph Curry, but just as, hey, look, this is another fun young piece to add to a team that needs an injection of youth. Now, I don't think, given where they're at right now, that's a team that's dying to get Jared McCain. I think they need to get more win now help because Steph is still very good and a lot of the pieces are just not functioning as they should out there, including Draymond, which that's a completely different conversation. There are also a couple other teams that are in need of guard help that have been searching for help at the position in the backcourt where maybe Jared has a clearer path to minutes and production. I look at someone like Minnesota as a team that comes up a lot. That Mike Conley has gotten old, and they drafted Rob Dillingham, traded up to get Rob Dillingham at that. And at times this year, I've played Bones Highland over him, who was out of the league and out of sight for a little bit. So could they convince themselves, Jared McCain next to Anthony Edwards and with their other defensively stout players on that team, you take a flyer on him, you get all the benefits of his shooting and hide him otherwise. That's a team that could look at him and have some interest. But I think right now the big thing, Derek is right. He's got to prove that he can get back to himself. If he had a strong month, I 100% agree. It's value that could be rehabilitated quickly, because the difference between him and some of these other guards we're going to talk about as being on the block, he's on a very cheap rookie deal. He's not Trae Young making $50 million or Ja Morant or LaMelo Ball, these guys who are hey, you got to pay them face of the franchise money. You're paying him peanuts. And so if you invest now, you can get some significant upside potentially at a low cost. But I don't think the Sixers are going to trade him right now because it's just not worth it.
You bringing up Dillingham. I remember we had our preseason predictions, we had two categories. We had surprise player and most improved player. And I had Ryan Rollins for one, home run, Dillingham for the other. Swing and a miss. It happens.
It's tough, but he's super skinny guards. Tough to make it.
Super fast too. And that's curious seeing how it hasn't translated just yet. But Another team that people like to talk about, seen it in chat, the Miami Heat, they're always one that their name is thrown around. They drafted Yakuchonis, a bigger guard. They have Davion Mitchell as a starter, which they're good with, but they always feel. And then there are teams that just simply we can fix them. Whatever it is, we can fix them.
Yeah.
Especially if you're desperate enough, you feel like, as Kyle just pointed out, with the value of the lower contract, not having to give up so much for a bigger name, where you feel like you're the one that can make things happen for Jared McCain and turn it back around and get that same player from a season ago. All right, let's take our final break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the rest of the league and the names that the guys have already brought up, including Trae Young. Things are starting to heat up. Again, less than a month away, and we're starting to get some stuff, everybody, when it comes to these players potentially being on the move. Could the Sixers find their way in the mix somehow? We'll discuss it when we get back right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Let me tell you about our new sponsor, Mars Men. So when you hit your mid-30s, suddenly everything that used to be easy, it isn't anymore. You barely ever talk about it, but it has to be said, and I'm here to do that with you. Again, right around age 34, same workout, same diet. You feel like you're just simply moving through mud now. Nobody tells you about this stuff. One day you're crushing it, the next day you're not. This is where Mars Men's comes into play. When you dive into Mars Men, you experience stronger physical performance. It's a good way to kick off the new year. You support healthy T levels, energy, and stamina. There are 8 natural, clinically dosed ingredients, including vitamin D, zinc, and much more. A product made in the U.S. and third-party tested. It's a 90-day money guarantee for you. And for a limited time, our listeners get 50% off Life Plus, free shipping, and 3 free gifts at Mars. Go to Mars.com. It's a perfect way to kick off the new year strong. That's men. Go to Mars.com for 50% off and 3 free gifts at checkout. After your purchase, they will ask you where you heard them from. Please support our show. Tell them who sent you.
Guys, you want to keep your finances under control this holiday season, you need to be using Monarch. Rated the Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025, Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean interface on your laptop or your phone. And right now, just for our listeners, Monarch is offering 50% off your first year. During this holiday season, Monarch was the wake-up call I needed. It made me stop and adjust my spending before the credit card bill arrived. Monarch does all the heavy lifting for you, linking all of your accounts in minutes so you can get clear data visuals, smart categorization of your spending, and real control over your money. Monarch gives your partner full access to your shared dashboard, including linked accounts, budgets, goals, and spending activity, all in one place and at no extra cost. Monarch was named the best budgeting app of 2025 by the Wall Street Journal. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code PHLY at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code PHLY.
Final segment here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. Let's talk about the names that are thrown out there right now with the trade rumors. And a few days ago, it started with our teammate at DLLS Mavs and, of course, the Substack, Mark Stein, putting out a message about, hey, Trae Young, that might be happening pretty sooner than we thought, everybody, because it looks like Trae Young is on his way out of Atlanta. Mark Stein saying the Wizards at that point had emerged as a legitimate potential trade destination for Atlanta's Trae Young. Mark Stein has learned in a deal construction centered around CJ McCollum's expiring contract. Kyle, since then, Shams Charania of ESPN, Sam Amick of The Athletic also have talked about this, and some others have jumped in on the conversation as well. But we knew that this might be a possibility in the offseason because it was some scuttlebutt out there about Trae Young potentially being on the move. But this has really started to heat up now that we are 1 month away from the trade deadline, which is February 5th, everybody. So February 5th, not the 14th, not the 15th. It's February 5th. It's pretty soon, and seems like that might happen.
So it's interesting because it's being treated around the league as a foregone conclusion that Trae will be traded. But outside of the Washington piece, and maybe that's why he ends up in Washington, most of what you've heard is nobody wants Trae Young, which I get. I am not a huge Trae Young guy because of all the limitations that everyone talks about. He is a horrendous system and scheme breaking defender, bad off the ball, a target on the ball, doesn't play hard, et cetera, et cetera. And so, like, you've seen how bad the defense has been for Atlanta when he's on the floor compared to just having Nickeil Alexander-Walker absorbing more minutes. And that's making a lot of people gun shy. So he knows he wants out. The Hawks don't want him there, but nobody except for the Wizards seems to want him. And even the Wizards, it seems closer to a marriage of convenience where they're saying, hey, we have an expiring contract. If we trade for Trey, we get the rest of this year with him. And if he picks up his player option, we get another year with him. We see how things go, and maybe you end up paying him after that. But it's crazy to see the fall from grace that he's had, because after he beat the Sixers and went to the conference finals.
Start with the Knicks, that series against the Knicks.
Remember when he called regular season boring?
Yeah.
He plays defense like he believes it.
Oh, that's 100% true. But he seemed like he was on a path to being one of those guys that's like, yeah, maybe in the regular season, he's not the greatest asset in the world, but you put him in high leverage situations where he can just hunt switches and hunt matchups, and the passing and playmaking are so high level that he's just a threat every time the playoffs come around. And it has not materialized since 2021, which also makes you madder about the Sixers losing to the Hawks in 2021. But I'm honestly pretty stunned by the decline over the last 4 years, even as a Trae Young skeptic. I don't really know what Washington is accomplishing adding him to that group, because they frankly have looked pretty good lately. They finally resemble a real basketball team.
Also, they have their pick.
Yeah. So
you don't want to, like, if in theory, maybe Trae Young's a floor raiser, you don't want to raise that floor. You want that floor on the bottom.
Yeah. You want to lose every game, have your young guys play well, and get one of Peterson, DeBansa, or Boozer.
100%.
If you had to guess, how much worse do you think their defense is when he's on the floor this year?
The Hawks you're talking
points
about?
per 100, yeah.
8 points per 100?
Oh, you are
I'll
way
give
off.
you 15 points.
You are real close. 15 and a half.
Oh, I thought it was going to be like 10, and I was trying to play Price is Right rules. But
one of the most nuclear bad defensive players in the league.
When
like,
he came
probably
back,
the worst.
They went on like a 6-game losing streak when he came back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are legitimately, like, he helps our offense. There's 6.8 points per 100 better offensively with him on the floor.
Unfortunately, 15 is a bigger number than 6.
A big number.
So I'll go back to where Kyle brought it up with the Sixers in 2021 and all. Cooked that Knicks, that series. He was fantastic. Mm-hmm. Of course, we know what happened against the Sixers. They then go and trade for DeJounte Murray because things happened so fast where it's accelerated too fast for them. So they thought it was something that it really wasn't. And then that happens. It doesn't work out. Then Murray gets injured. He's out of there. You try to figure out some other things and you go and make these moves. But I thought he was rehabilitated last year when we were talking about this right at All-Star where we put our picks together for the reserves. I had Jalen Johnson. He had gotten hurt. And I think you guys had Trae Young, and you guys ultimately turned out to be right because he was the injury replacement for whoever they decided to choose him, the player for. And I thought he was back and understood what it was. And then this year they get off to a decent start. They had the great offseason. Walker comes in. They draft Asa Newell. That was pretty good. Bringing in Porzingis also. And then after a while, it clearly it was Jalen Johnson's team, or it was functioning better with him as the head of the whole thing.
And with Alexander Walker, it's just like he's a more competent defender, fits that identity.
Yes. And when they started winning, when Trae Young went down, you're like, okay, this is fun basketball. This is what you thought they were going to be in the offseason when they put the squad together. And he comes back and they just start losing. And it's just the same old stuff. And I remember one clip that it showed up on Twitter because we don't watch a lot of Hawks basketball, but it was one clip and it was just Trae Young, typical at the top of the key, spinning around like a top. What is he doing? Who is he defending? And the opposition gets a basket. And it's just, this is Trae Young. And that's not who they are now. That's not what they are built with. Alexander Walker, Jalen Johnson, and Dyson Daniels. We are locking things up. Okongwu, we are locking some things up here. You're messing it all up, buddy. And so I'm not surprised that this has really started to ramp up. And look, now he sees it. Because before, remember when it was always out there? I don't know. He's hard to play with. John Collins doesn't like being there. He's shipped out. It's everybody else's fault but him. And now it's coming to fruition that, yeah, guess what? It is you. And he's finally starting to see that 7 years in that this is not going to work. So the Washington piece of it, I don't know. Maybe it's we need to sell some tickets, even though we have these young guys.
That's always their MO is like, can we just be good enough that people will come to the
CJ
games?
McCollum and Chris Middleton are there. They're pros, but they're not going to sell tickets. Trae Young, could he potentially maybe sell some tickets for them?
Trae and Trae backcourt. Boy, they'll give up a lot of points.
That will be bad. And
we are big boosters of Trae Johnson, but boy, him and Trae Young defending backcourts together. Good luck.
Trade them now so they can play VJ and Tyrese Maxey tomorrow coming off of a loss. Let's see that action in South Philly. Derek, I mean, it's name value, I guess.
Yeah. And look, he will help them offensively, or he will help whoever he goes to offensively, I should say. It's just like,
but usually, are they built the right way for him to help them offensively?
Oh, well, no. And like, if you're Washington, you want to develop Trae Johnson. Like, you don't want to waste touches.
By the way, we haven't talked about him much. He's shooting the piss out of the ball. He's shooting 41% from 3 on 5 attempts a game. Pretty good.
It's just like, usually, even the bad defenders, you have some redeeming quality about them. Like Allen Iverson back in the day would generate a ton of steals. James Harden, if he got switched onto a wing, he could at least hold his own physically with his strength. Luka's big. That's about all I have, but Luka's big. Tyrese Maxey, overmatched at times, but gives you incredible effort, is getting stronger, fights through screens, shoots gaps defensively. Trae does nothing. He does nothing defensively. Nothing on ball, nothing off ball, provides no value in any context. There's no redeeming quality to him on 50% of the game. It's tough. That's tough to overcome.
I saw somebody mention that except for he scares Ben Simmons in a playoff game going to the basket. Someone said that.
So I will also say, to bring it back to the Sixers for a moment, Trae is an example of the high-scoring, offense-only guard that you can go in a couple of directions, right? When that player's young and not making much money, it's easy to just shrug your shoulders and say, well, whatever. He's the engine of the offense. He's scoring, 25. He's putting up 10 assists. Like, we'll deal with it. We can fix the rest of the roster in a way that we don't care. But then as you get deeper in their careers, and it's part of why I admire what Tyrese Maxey has done. And every time his defense comes up in a presser, he loves to say, yeah, y'all said I couldn't defend. But he has taken on the challenge of, I'm going to get stronger. I'm going to lock in on the film and matchups and tendencies in a way that I know what teams want to do. I know what my guy has to do. And so that just gives you way more outs as a team and as a franchise, where as the Sixers, yes, you want to have two-way players at every spot, but if Maxey can defend at least a competent level, if not above competent level, that means you can go through some lineups and some roster acquisitions where not every guy's got to be Tony Allen or Scottie Pippen or whoever. That means you can put offensive players on the floor and play offensive-heavy lineups because Maxey will do his job. He'll play his part to be a good defense. And that's where these guys end up separating in their careers. It's like, how much do you care about just putting up numbers versus actually trying to accomplish something as a team player? And I think where Maxey has shown, yes, he wants to put up stats and he wants to be an all-star and he wants the recognition his play deserves, but he's doing things to help drive winning that are not like having a 30-point game, that are less talked about in the media, or at least by fans and in highlights and whatnot. And that's a big separator between the guys who make it into that top 10 to 15 players list and the guys who just put up numbers and make money and play for some anonymous franchise. So I give Maxey a lot of credit where he has separated for some of these guys.
And that was John Pease talking about Ben Simmons a little bit earlier. Let's get to Dallas, though, because one of the first rumors before this all came out with Washington was an Anthony Davis, Trae Young, something built around that, Derek, where there was a lot of talk about the Dallas Mavericks may be moving on from Anthony Davis as their season is what it is, and also just trying to recoup some things back. And could Trae Young either be going to Dallas or rerouted somewhere else? And Anthony Davis's name has also been out there.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know about Trae going to Dallas just because like they're getting a short guard back at some point.
I think Dallas, Tim McMahon at ESPN has said they don't want Trae. Yeah, so I think that's a 3-team, if anything.
Yeah. Look, I think Dallas should move AD. Like, you're not look, Kyrie comes back, certainly is going to help them on offense. Put them into their more natural roles, Cooper especially. But like, you're not going anywhere this year. You need to get assets for AD while you still can. You don't want to fall into the sunk cost just because you gave up one of the best players in franchise history to get this guy. Like, he's not going to take you where you thought he was going to take you. Get assets while you still can. AD's not exactly a spring chicken in this league anymore. He's certainly injury prone. Like, a team could still use him. You could definitely get assets for him. Move on and cut bait quickly.
If I'm the Hawks, if I'm trading for Anthony Davis, I need assurances that he will play center.
Absolutely.
I'm sick of I'm playing power forward nonsense. And like, you could play, like, look, we see a lot of double big lineups, including Embiid and Bona have played a lot of minutes there recently. But this fascination this obsession with, I want another big next to me, and that's like a borderline requirement for him to go out there. It's just not, you can't, you're a 7-footer. You are a center. You don't shoot threes. If you don't play center, you're automatically putting your team in a tough position from a coaching and roster building standpoint where the spacing is going to be clogged. It makes life tougher for them. It makes life tougher for you, quite frankly. It's harder for you to get easy pick and roll buckets if there's a second big man in the dunker spot or someone that you're sticking in the corner that's not being guarded. So I can see the vision with some of what they have there. I think if they're going to be a defense first team, Anthony Davis at his best is still a very, 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 very good defender. But my brother, please play some center. Play more center than power forward. That's all.
Like,
Conley was playing well too. So
he is playing well.
It's just like having somebody with that kind of rim running presence and defensive versatility at center is a cheat code. Putting more spacing around him would make that more effective. Like, you'd think you'd want to lean into it because it's just an easier way to build a team. He's just got a mental block against it.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah. Anthony Davis could be on the move. It's going to be interesting to see what actually happens with now the window less than a month away from the NBA trade deadline and who gets moved, because there's a lot of big names, including John Morant, who we just saw put up 40 on the Sixers in the overtime loss. LaMelo Ball, Charlotte still playing pretty entertaining basketball. They win some games. They just beat OKC. But LaMelo Ball has been out there as well.
They beat the brakes off of OKC.
Yes, they did.
I almost want to go dig that one up on League Pass and see what the hell happened.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are names out there. Jared McCain, we talked about him. His name doesn't ring bells like those guys do, but we will certainly watch and see how it all plays out for the Sixers in this way, seeing what happens in the Eastern Conference. Because look, if Trae Young gets moved and Anthony Davis comes into the Eastern Conference, that affects the Sixers and who they may play, how it affects the seeding and all in the Eastern Conference playoffs as they're all juggling for their spots there. Sixers right now tied with 2-3 other teams in there right around the 5th seed. So Al always says, why do you bring it up?
Well, now we're
like
about
last
the
night.
mid-season point. This is when I start caring about.
Yeah. That's why.
After Christmas, the standings I'm keeping a much closer eye on than November. Put it that way.
34 games in the books.
And 2 against Toronto, a back-to-back. They're sitting right in front of the Sixers.
There.
That's big back-to-back.
And then Cleveland home.
Yep.
2 home games here in Philadelphia. Cleveland's right there, tied right now with the Sixers in the standings. So all of this matters. That's why I lost like last night. It's not the end of the world, but you would have liked to see that one come away with the victory. It's overtime here for us on the show. We appreciate everybody hanging up with us on the television side. Move on over to allphly.com for the remainder of the show. We thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow for a 6:30 pregame Sixers Wizards as they look to bounce back.
One other quick news and notes. Yesterday was the
Derek
first
news and notes.
Yesterday was the first day you could sign 10-day contracts.
Ooh.
Yes,
Sixers haven't signed anyone, so not a big news and note, but we are at that point.
So we talked about it briefly last night to end the show.
Okay.
Would you like to see them take advantage of that open 15th roster spot? And of course, with the
no,
two
because
guys.
that's like a couple, whatever tens of thousands of dollars that Josh Harris has to duck. So I think they'll probably wait a little bit before they start doing that.
Derek, maybe you remember the specific rule. Isn't there another rule related to the two-way contracts where if you carry under 15 players, it shrinks your window of two-way days that you're allowed to use? I believe I think Bobby Marks has brought this up recently.
Might be. I don't remember that off the top of my head, but I'll look into it.
I'm going to look this up. So you guys kill time somehow and I'll figure it out. I know it's a thing. I just don't remember the
Walker,
specificity
just for
of it.
people who, as we talk about it often, Walker is at about 31, 32 games played for the Sixers. They have played 34, so he's right around all the games played, and we have Barlow's in the 20s because of the time that he missed after the injury to his elbow. Yeah. So, and as Derek and Kyle always point out, it's active, not how many games you played. It's just simply being active. And neither one of them have not been active, right? I think that Walker's been active for most of the games.
Walker is coming up on. He's just running out of two-way days in general.
32.
Barlow is
because he had
pretty
injuries.
clear because of the mystery arm problem that he dealt with for a while there.
Yeah, so there's that with the two-way guys, and Marshawn Beauchamp, of course, putting up 34 in the G League with the squad. Real quick, Walker 31, Barlow 23 in terms of games played, and the Sixers again 34 games already.
Okay, so it's if you carry under 15 on your roster, you are there. It's like a 90 game two-way limit.
Yes,
that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, so. Yeah. If they add a 10-day, that allows them to skirt that for a little bit, and you can pad the numbers a little. Not pad the numbers. You get to the normal 15 roster spots.
You delay
allotment, but that's something to keep an eye on. That would be a reason, other than basic basketball reasons, that the Sixers would want to get a guy in the 15th roster spot because it'll allow them to use more two-way games for any of Barlow, Walker, or Beauchamp, who has not been available quite yet.
And again, that doesn't do anything about the 50-game individual max.
Yes.
That's a cumulative 90 days if you're under 15 contracts, because they don't want you using those two-way contracts to then not roster an NBA player.
And Vinny, our buddy, says, when do you think they sign Barlow?
As late as they possibly can, unfortunately.
Right when he hits 50 games.
Right.
This is maybe a separate show, but if you were betting, is Oubre walking back into the starting spot when he's available? Nick Nurse, by the way, for anybody who didn't see last night, Derek and I were at pregame, Nick Nurse said any day now, Oubre and Watford could be cleared. So we are on high alert for a potential return to the lineup and the rotation for both of those guys.
I would say because of as good as he has been, he's the Togo
unsung hero spokesman.
Award. It's named after him. Struggled the last couple of games, and I wonder if Oubre comes back, he just walks him right back. Now, look, might be because he's been off for so long, he tries to ease him back in and doesn't start him immediately, but eventually he does take over that starting role once again, and Barlow comes off the bench. But if Barlow plays well again, once they come back, and we'll see. But I would say Oubre is back in the starting lineup.
And I think we're all interested.
It's a good problem,
that, right? Like Derek, you're more on Oubre skepticism island, but I think you like wings, so I think a 2 wings starting lineup you wouldn't mind.
Is that obvious?
Wow, I didn't mean like that. I wasn't. I'm not firing shots at anybody's physique or conditioning.
I'm just only firing
after
shots
my
at myself.
Christmas
That's all.
Dieting outside of our wonderful Factor meals that I ate.
No, I mean, I think there's almost a guarantee Oubre gets back in the starting lineup. I mean, look, Barlow's been playing like 12 to 15 minutes per night the last couple games. He's been struggling a little bit.
Been in foul trouble.
He's just been in foul trouble, been struggling a little bit. Nurse has had a pretty quick hook on him. Like, I think And also there's just the politics. Like Oubre is a higher salary player, longer veteran, I think thinks of himself as a starter. And to get the most out of sometimes someone who has that kind of aspirations, giving him that starting nod. And quite frankly, I think Oubre is just the steadier player. Like Barlow certainly has his moments, but I can't believe I'm about to say this. Like as a shooter and a floor spacer, Kelly clears him by a long shot, which says as much about Barlow as it does about Kelly. I might be a Kelly skeptic. I think he slides right back into that. Maybe not right back. There might be a couple games where you're trying to get him back up to speed, but I think he does get there. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. That'll do it for us here on the show. We'll be back tomorrow, 6:30 for the pregame. Sixers hosting the Wizards before they do go on the road for a few games. And we'll be here for you, of course, for all of the pre and post game shows right here on the PHLY Sixers podcast. It's time for the world famous. It's the roll call.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us on we always say it, a rare 3 p.m. show, and they will be even rarer than normal this month because we have...
It's got like 3 of them for the month.
I thought you were going to thank people for hanging out with us on the day of the week, and I just thought, like, I don't even know what day of the week it is.
Hey, we had a whole... I thought it was Saturday on Thursday last week. It was a private chat amongst us.
We got off the show. He's like, enjoy your Saturday. We're like,
and then
Kyle, it's Thursday.
Saturday night, VJ said, I don't know what day it is. Last night, Maxie was in the middle of his presser and was trying to say what day something was happening. He goes, what day of the week is it? So I felt very vindicated for not knowing what day of the week it was. This is the most I am like the professional athletes that we cover. So thank you to Maxie and Edgecombe for validating my confusion with days of the week. So anyway, a lot of pre and post game shows coming up. If you like those, if you like shows like this, hit the thumbs up button on this video. It helps me sleep at night. It helps these guys feel good about themselves. It's also a thank you to super producer Bree for doing such an amazing job behind the scenes, making this show work. And of course, thank you to you guys for showing up for us. Thank you to Jesse Bond, to John Peace, Freddie Powell, to TTP, to AA Ron.
What up, Aaron?
3-time in the building. Thank you to Brian Knight, JW215, B. Reeves, Kyle Wright, David Jones, Jazz Graham.
What up, Jazz?
Vince Pellegrini.
Vinny.
Vic, our good friend Darkness.
Turn the lights down for any 8:30 game in Philadelphia until the playoffs.
Again.
Adam Silver, life in
Turn
prison.
the lights down.
Thank you to Phil W., who I
down?
know is excited about Kelly Oubre being close to a return. What's up to Phil?
You guys in the arena?
By the time we left that arena, it looked like a hockey rink again.
It was out? Okay.
Dude.
All right, turn the lights down.
I don't want to talk anymore about it. Thank you to veteran of the Psychic Wars. Thank you to Nick Aub, SB Cole, Val, Lee Nguyen. Thank you to moms, grandchildren.
Hey, Mom.
Thank you to Cliff Jackson, who sparked the conversation today. What's up to Cliff? Thank you to This Is Nate.
Nate.
Hello, Nate.
What up, Nate?
Hello to Marcus Blackstock, Eden the Remix, Mitchell Kennedy, Jess, my girl Nona.
Hey, ladies.
Coleman Potts, D Flyers, Markel Futz, Headfa, Lost Sleep TV, and of course the one, the only, the Lorne Michaels, the head of SNL.
We're ready,
Clearing
Lorne.
house up there, boy. There's a lot of changes being made. I hope you know what you're doing, Lauren. I know you've been in charge for a long time.
You know what you're doing. You're opening up spots for us. Give us the call. We're ready, Lauren.
Thank you, everybody, for stopping through on the way out. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so you get notifications each and every time we go live. As Devon said, 6:30 pregame for a 7 o'clock start.
Normal.
Sixers, Wizards tomorrow night at a much more normal and understandable time. Until then, stay safe. Take care of one another. Goodbye.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.